Why did all of ESPN's College Game Day crew pick Alabama to win the SEC championship over the Dogs? That's what we're going to talk about right now. But first of all, I'm not super mad at any of these picks. Picking Alabama to win the SEC is really not that big of a deal. I think that it makes sense in some ways, but Georgia is certainly the overwhelming favorite to win it all, and win it all, not just the league. And I think that when you get to the point where everybody's saying the same thing, you got to start wondering what's going on. That folks aren't moving it around a little bit. I think Alabama can win the national championship. Michigan, Ohio State. I think my worry for folks not named Michigan in that scenario, and I guess this includes Georgia, is particularly Alabama, though, is that the quarterback situation, until we really see what's going on, if you're going with Milrose, I just don't know. I mean, I just do not know if that's going to work. I don't know if Alabama is built in the way that would get you where you want to go. They've been so reliant on quarterbacks for the last half decade plus. It's got to go all the way back to Jake Coker. Are they built the way that they can really handle that? So they all picked Alabama to win the league. Both Kirk and Pat McAfee had Georgia in the playoff, with Pat picking Bama over Georgia in the playoff, Kirk picking Bama over Ohio State in the national championship game, and then of course Des has Michigan winning the national championship. So not much has changed on that front. I don't really know what to say about that. That's just so fascinating to, I mean, Michigan, of course, can win the national championship, but I mean, it's so transparent sometimes what's going on. You're taking a look at the EkoPoly chair that I'm sitting in, and it's, manufactured in Eastman. This really are very nice products. 20-year warranty on this. It's not going to fade. They're, using poly lumber with built-in UV inhibitors to create a solid, durable product for 20 years, y'all. And a marine-grade stainless steel hardware that they're assembling with. So if you're beside the pool or in the mountains or the coast, the products will stand up to the environment. I'm just going to tell you right now, I've had some stuff in my yard. It definitely is standing up. I'm using this so I can show it to you, but when we move around some, we're gonna change up what we show. But I'm picking Georgia to win the conference. I think, and I'm also, you'll read about this over on Dog Post on Thursday, particularly if you have a subscription. I'm picking Georgia to win the national championship. First time ever that I've actually picked them to win the national championship. Well, I'm not alone. They are the betting favorite, and how. So I just, part of the reason why this happens is there's a, what's the word? What's the best way to describe it? There's sort of a default setting in college football analysis, which is that if it's not so obvious, you just go with Alabama. In the past, it was if it's not so obvious, you go with Alabama or Clemson. Clemson's fallen off quite a bit here lately, so we're not seeing that as much. But I do think we've entered a time in college football where it feels like there's only about 5 or 6 teams that can win the national championship, and 3 of those are from the SEC. So the college football game day, ESPN college football game day, is so important to this sport. And if you hate ESPN because you have political reasons to hate them, which is your choice, whatever. If you hate them because you think they don't do Georgia right, that's fine, whatever. That's not based in reality. But if you hate ESPN because I don't even know why, it's so in vogue for people to be aggravated about stuff that doesn't matter with ESPN. College Game Day is really important. It's grown the sport. It has been something that people have tried to replicate and have not done so over at Fox. They've got a pregame show, but it's not the same at all. And I think that we overvalue sometimes because of how important game day is. If you don't think game day is important, then why are so many people celebrating it when it comes to Athens or goes to your school? It's an extremely important, cultural zeitgeist moment in any, and for any season. Where's game day going this week? I don't care because it gets in my way more than anything. But when I work with the folks at Game Day behind the scenes to get images or whatever, they're very helpful. They don't bother us at all. It's just that I know when Game Day's in town, it's a huge cultural, social event. My wife, as I've talked about many times, although a beautiful woman and the mother of my children, is a Clemson fan. And when Game Day is going to see Clemson play, they are all very excited. Where is it going to be? All this stuff. So, Kirk Herbstreit is a very important voice in this sport. And he has been beating the Alabama drum for a while now. I want to see what Alabama looks like before I am, to the point where I'm comfortable pronouncing them. There was a lot of, now I've seen Carson Beck plenty, and if you watched college football last year through the crevices, you saw Carson Beck too. But I saw Jalen Milroe, man. The guy can run like lightning. I just don't know if he can play quarterback. The notion at Alabama was that Ty Simpson would be the starter, or at some point would be the starter, and they would just take their lumps in the hopes that he would grow to and through as we got to the end of the year, so that Alabama could, in theory, grow with him the way that they did with Jalen Hurts back in the day. If you sign up this week, this is the last week we're doing this, to get dog posts, I'm going to send you a 2023 preview. That comes with a free t-shirt from Red Zone, 20% off any item at the store at Red Zone. And then if you've gotten double dogs in the past or this past week, I'll give you a month for free. But if you're not going to take Red Zone up on their offer, please email me, Dean@DogPost, and let me know so I can just send you the magazine, because they're waiting for y'all to order it. If you want to take advantage of that 20% off. And so there's only a few of y'all that have not done that. But if you're not interested, if you just want the magazine, please immediately email me and let me know, and I'll send it out to you. But I would take advantage of the 20% off, the free T-shirt, and all that stuff. But so college game day is really important. The loudest voices, which is the minority, they always have something to say about college game day or ESPN, all this stuff, and that's that whatever. But it's game day is really, really important, and the changes that, like, some people are not like that David Pollock's not on game day anymore. I mean, it's business. You can't help that. It's what it is. So a lot of people got cut. Disney's changing their philosophy on a lot of things. So it's whatever. But don't chase windmills for nothing. And I wonder. I don't think the game day crew is chasing windmills, but and my criticism here of Kirk is specifically that he says, "Oh, when Alabama's doubted, bro, they're the number 2 pick to win the national championship. Like, they're not really being doubted. They are being doubted in relation to Georgia. That's not the same thing as being doubted globally. Like, there are people that think LSU can win the West. They can win the West. That's not doubting, Alabama. And honestly, I don't really, that's not a good enough reason at the end of the day. If Kirk were here, if he wants to come on the show, that's not a good enough reason to pick someone. And that may not be the way that he articulates it, but that's what I've noticed a lot in listening over the last, however many months. Media days, to some degree in the spring. They got a real challenge at linebacker, and they got a real challenge across the conference in Georgia. It's both those things. So why did they not picking Alabama to win the national championship? I don't know. We'll see. They are one of the 4 or 5 teams that can do it. It's Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU. SC, after what I saw this weekend, they're going to have to get a lot better. Tennessee, Florida State. I really want to see LSU, Tennessee. I reserve the right to be wrong about LSU. But LSU has the quarterbacks, plural, to get you where you want to go. LSU does not have the global, and Brian Kelly even talked about this. They do not have everything you need at LSU right now to win the national championship. So that's one reason I'm a little bit skeptical about LSU. But I think it's not just a quarterback at Bama, but that is one of the biggest question marks. It's a big question mark at Georgia too. It's just not, Georgia's done this. They've replaced players consistently from the EkoPoly, the EkoPoly cam over here. I want to make sure I talk to it, but I get worried about the microphone sometimes. You can see the full chair there. Georgia has done this. This group at Alabama has not. It doesn't mean that one of them has an advantage over the other necessarily. It just means that Georgia's done this before recently. I'm sure I cannot believe the sentence I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. I'm sure there are players on Alabama's team who have won the national championship. I'm just not sure that period. So that statement is an amazing statement, if we're just being honest, because Nick has been amazing. They've not won the national championship the last 2 years. I don't know how many players outside of Jermaine Burton, who's going to trigger half of y'all, me just saying his name. Why do you care? Why does everybody care so much? Why is everybody so mad? Why is everybody, Jermaine left. He made a mistake. I mean, I think he did not make the right move, but that's his decision to make. It's his, talent to use. I don't know, outside of Jermaine Burton, I don't know, and I'm not suggesting that I'm missing something here. I don't know who the people are at Alabama that are players who have competed and won a national championship outside of Jermaine. I don't cover Alabama, but Bryce Young didn't do it, and all we heard about last year was how good Will Anderson was, and he's really good, and he left without a national championship the last 2 years of his time at Alabama. Bryce Young the same way. So whoever's replacing them obviously did not win the national championship unless they were a key player in 2020. And I don't know who's left on that team. A lot of those guys, Devonta, Harris, the quarterback, his name has suddenly escaped me, who was a very good player for them, Mac Jones. Those guys are all gone. So I saying, Alabama's going to win it because they're being doubted, or that is not a critical thinking way of constructing what you think will happen in the league. Who has the best players? Georgia has the best players globally, only because they have Carson Beck as their starting quarterback. Alabama is right there with Georgia. So if they figure out quarterback, that's a different ballgame completely. Then I would still take Georgia, but it wouldn't be with more. Who has the better coaching staff? Well, I would still say Nick is the best coach in college football. He might not be the best coach in college football right now, and that may well be Kirby. Who runs the best program? Right now, that's Kirby. So when you stack all this stuff up, where would they play? They'd play in Atlanta, or they'd play in, in theory, New Orleans or the Rose Bowl. And then in theory, they could play. There's only 4 places these teams can play. They can play in Atlanta. They can play in Houston. They can play in both. They've done that. They've done that 2-step before. And then they could play New Orleans, and they could play the Rose Bowl. The college football playoff has done all it can to not have those matchups, but that's ending. And we're going to have, LSU, Tennessee, or Georgia, Ole Miss in the first round of these college football playoffs in the future. So the notion of avoiding conference teams in the first round of the playoffs, which is the semifinals now, that's going to go away. But I'm not surprised that they picked it that way. I am a little surprised, I have to say, that they all, went with it. I mean, Desmond cannot be taken seriously with picks. God bless him. He just can't. I mean, last year proved that. Didn't he have North Carolina and Texas A&M or whoever? I mean, that was insane. But he cannot be taken seriously on this front. But it is an important program in that, a lot of people watch it. About 1 million people a week watch it, and it's important to. Now, Desmond's picks this year are much more sensible. I would not put Texas in the thing. I do not trust Texas. It's also curious that you'd have Alabama and Texas who are playing one another. That sort of suggests that the team that loses that game will run the table. Texas, to me, is not going to run the table. but Alabama could, but Alabama even has a hard run at these things. So I just they're just three guys. I don't know that they necessarily watch as much football as I do. Kirk might, and McAfee, I don't know. McAfee's working, so I don't know. But I mean, we watch a lot. I'm not sure about the pick of Georgia not winning the SEC, but everybody's entitled to their opinion for sure.